welcome to Still Talking Uncut. I'm your host, Big Easy, joined by my co-host, Master Distiller Sean Rigsby. We're grateful enough, honored enough today to be joined by man, I'm stupid.
I wasn't going to say that, but
introduce yourself for us, Tom, from the Cherry Bounce episode.
Yeah, I was contestant on season 2, Master Distiller. I was season 2's first loser. I was with Richard on the Cherry Bounce episode.
Awesome.
I don't consider you a loser. I've had both of them.
Okay. and for anybody
Thank
listening,
you. I appreciate that compliment.
The 180 proof gin that me and Sean have tried and talked about in past shows. The guest of honor is the one who made that amazing gin. And
that's what I'm having this evening.
Well, that brings us to what's in your glass. What are you drinking on?
Exactly that 180 proof gin with the lemonade and a little bit of ice. And I do have my first wheated bourbon that I've ever done. I've got a sample of that I'm going to take my COVID shots here later.
Hey,
so
2 shots a day keep the doctor away. So
yeah, I take a couple a week anyway, whether you need them or not.
Hey, better to have them and not need them, you know.
Yes, sir.
So what are you drinking on there, Big Easy?
I got some Tuck and Red's peach.
Okay.
Tuck and Red Distillery. I was too lazy.
Tuck and Red, love those guys.
Else, so.
Got a chance to hang out with them last year at the Hill Climb.
Hell yeah!
In Oregonia, they do a hill climb in Oregonia. It's Devil's Staircase. Pretty cool event. Been going there a long time. Last year, got the opportunity to kind of hang out in a booth with Doug and Tuck and Red, and man, we had a good time. Them boys are they'll keep you laughing. I'll say that about Tuck and Red. They will keep you laughing.
I got to meet Tuck. I haven't got to meet Red yet, so I'm excited to meet him later on down the line. I know I'm going to meet him. So
yeah. So while we're on the subject, Tom, of Tuck and Red, so Red texted me not too long ago. And he's like, "Man, I'm having an issue with my vodka because he was running it through at that copper still he's got. He was running it and then rerunning it, you know, and
right."
I said, "Well, I got something that might help you out." So I loaned him my tower to see if they can get it lined out for the customer they got.
The plate and
right?
and shotgun and I loaned him a 50-gallon drum with a 4-inch barrel on it. I'm like, here you go, man. Whatever y'all need, I hope you get it right.
Also,
I guess they got one customer that's just not. They say it tastes just too much like what is it, tequila?
Yeah, it tastes too much like Tito's.
Right.
Oh, they got a pot.
That's going to depend. They're probably using their grain bill, though, right? Their grain bill.
He said that they had changed it up from the grain to, I don't want to say just what it is over line, but
right.
We all think it's this, his still is seasoned. You know, it's picked up flavors and so he's pulling some of his agave he runs through the same still into his vodka. So I think they wanted to try something different, plates and stainless.
Yeah.
And
he said they were. He was thinking that they were tasting the copper, whatever that. Yeah, but I'm guessing that's what he was talking about is maybe the seasoning.
Yeah,
well, not seasoning, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
because he's had it for 7 years.
Right.
Yeah, that leftover agave, they're running through it now, and
I
think that's pulling into there.
Right? Did he use your tower?
Yeah.
Well, he did now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in case anybody's wondering, we got 3 people from Ohio in here. So, where in Ohio are you at, Tom?
I'm in Middletown. It's about halfway between Cincinnati and Dayton.
Yeah, you're about 30 minutes south of us. Well, at least me.
Yeah. I'm about 45 minutes from Sean's place.
Yep. Yeah, I think from where I'm at, from me to the highway, I added another 5 minutes, so it's about 50 minutes total. It's not too bad.
Yep. Dude, Tom got him a new tower.
Ooh.
I got an 8-inch. I got a Whopper.
Have you used it yet?
I have not. Still making some adjustments. I don't think I'm going to use the crossover and condenser that comes with it. I think I'm wanting to use the cap that came on my Kevin Gordon pot. It's got the popcorn cap on it. Yeah. And I think I want to put that on top of the tower and then plumb new from there. And when I get with Rick, then I'll plumb from there over to my new jar setup, and then it'll be the ultimate setup for me. That'll probably be as big and as elaborate as I'll go.
Well, make sure you send Sean pictures so I can see it. I always enjoy these.
So, it's kind of elaborate for a indoor, for a home setup, but man, that's what I do. It's a hobby. So, I mean, that's what I choose to spend my money on.
Yeah, it's no different than the guy that goes out in his garage and works on his old time muscle car every weekend and puts all his money. That's his hobby. We all got our own hobbies, and it's something we enjoy to do. And the old lady enjoys us to have hobbies because she don't have to look at us so much. If she's happy, we're happy. So there we go.
Right. I get it.
So how long you been shining, Tom? At what age did you start?
I started.
What age did you fall in love with it?
Well, I found out in '93 that my grandfather was a convicted felon. And I found that, and it was for a moonshining conviction from 1947. And that was the first inkling that I had of any kind of family history towards the moonshining end of things. And that was when he got a presidential pardon from the first George Bush president, and did that on his own. Just always wanted to, clear his name, so to speak. And so he filled out all the paperwork, and, he figured that, he saw in the paper that they would give pardons to just the average man. So he thought he'd see if he could do it. And sure enough, they picked him and gave him a presidential pardon for his moonshine felony. And man, that was because I never knew moonshiner Papaw. I knew never missed a church service Papaw. And so, that really kind of just had, obviously made some questions for me. And then on the other side of my family, my great grandfather, my dad's grandpa, man, he was something else. He was multi-state, and when he'd get in trouble, he'd just pack up and go 300-400 miles and set up shop and do it all over again. So there's several. We have several newspaper articles from him from as early as 1906 to 1930. He was a wanted individual most all over the country. So
that's cool.
My favorite newspaper article with him was where they actually captured him and at the still site and had him in custody. And while they were taking him to jail, he jumped out of the car, and it said officers fired several shots as he escaped across the field. So, and when you find that that's where you kind of come from, then, hey, what's my name? Skip. I got left out, and I'm sure I got left out because they wanted better for us. They didn't want us to doing the things that they were doing. So, but like any kid, what do? Hey, this is cool. So let's see where it goes. And I never got to have the moonshining conversation with my papaw, but had several with my grandmother, and she was there for the day that and told me the story that they told her that she needed to just shut her mouth and go over there and be quiet. So she went over and sat on his other mash barrel. So, and her Pentecost and always wore the long dress. So she pulled her dress down around the other mash barrel and kept the revenuers from finding the other barrel that he had at the house. So, and you hear them kind of stories, and it's pretty much a slam dunk from there. Let's see what we can do. So
you hear about your family, your forefathers before you, and it just, it makes you feel a special type of way, and it brings it out in you a little more, because you've
Well,
got that to fall back on. Or all right, we got a little lag problem going on. We'll just keep going on. Tom will come back in just a second. So,
That's right.
we ain't going to edit none of this out. This is just how it is. So, like you said, Tom was on the Cherry Bounce episode. And was he first off? Or did
No. It was I don't remember who. Him, Richard, and somebody else, but
he came in second, right? So,
yeah.
Hey, there you are.
What's happening, Tom?
Can you hear me now?
hold on, give me just a second. Yes, sir.
There we go.
All right, we're good to go.
I don't know. I was bumping my gums, and all of a sudden it said something went wrong.
I wish that happened more often when Sean's talking.
The trouble is not in your set.
We got to figure it out. We're all good. We're all good. So.
I'm drinking Busch Light, by the way.
The apple. What are you gonna do when they run out?
Sorry.
Man? Do you got like
you
got a barn full? Did you like buy everything out from Costco?
No, I'm looking for it though. The more
if
I can find it, I'll buy it.
Line on Busch Light apple,
Sam's Club by the pallet.
Yeah.
And I'm also drinking this Phil Billy's Smurfberry Moonshine. What'd you say it was made with?
Thistle honey. We had a lady from up in northern Ohio bring a 5-gallon bucket of thistle honey down from her bees, and he took that and mixed it with 3 different types of berries.
And to be clear, he made this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he ran a jar set up,
Did he?
Yeah.
What proof is this? Do you know?
Probably 80 or 100. You know how it is. Probably 80.
I want to hear it out of your mouth.
No punning. It's probably 80, man. We know. It might be 100. So.
Hey, look, Rick's here. Hey, Tom, have you got your Tennessee Thumper yet?
No, I talked to Rick at the jam, and I should be on the table before you know it.
But that was like 3 months ago.
Hey, I'm patient.
Especially for something like Rick builds. It's
Man,
definitely worth the wait.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
for sure. We just like giving him shit. So
I was talking to Rick earlier today, and he said he was building yours and someone else's. And I said, wait, are you talking about Tom that was on the show? He said, yeah. I'm like, that's convenient because he's going to be on ours tonight. He's like, don't be a fucking dickhead.
Man,
come on, man. You know better than that.
he knew damn well you was going to be a dickhead to him. It doesn't matter what he said. He's just going to ground you later. So, in case anybody doesn't know, Rick Gibson, Sean's dad. And if you want Sean to come out for the weekend, you have to get it okayed by Rick.
He's got to get a kitchen pass. I will give you that.
He does. So, how'd you meet Sean? Did you guys met through the show? Same season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys were down. You guys were down filming at the same time.
Well, you were leaving, I think, the day after I got there.
Yeah. We were in the second group, and we were finishing up right as you were. I think, weren't you there though the night that we got back from?
Yep, that's
from the finals.
Liquor.
Yeah, you guys, you got to try the final jars.
Yeah, I sure did. Yep.
That's the important part.
It is, and I definitely remember how I liked each one. So
they looked the same in the jar, but man, had 2 totally different flavors.
Yeah. Yep. I agree, but They know what they're looking for, I guess. But I know
Right.
which one I
Well,
like better.
and I didn't go to the show for a win or lose. I went to the show to find out for myself if I was a legit distiller.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I went. And I found out as much around the fire pit as I did on camera. I enjoyed my time on camera, but I enjoyed the time that I got to spend with the other people, because that's one of the first times that I've ever actually got to sit and talk liquor with people publicly, that actually know what they're talking about.
Right.
So, it was, for me, I enjoyed the time that I got to spend with my fellow distillers. It was an amazing time.
Oh yeah, and you get just the people you meet, and you learn their backgrounds and kind of see how everybody got to the same place. Learn how everybody got to that fire pit
To where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody progresses to different levels of satisfaction, and everybody's happy at a different place. And for me, I don't know that I'll ever be happy. I'm always, kind of pushing the edge of, a new idea, or, hear about a new kind of fruit, or, something I've just never dealt with or done anything with before. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy doing. The weird stuff that I have to create a mash bill for, because there's no documentation that tells you, how many Lintner is, yellow split peas or whatever. There's just, there's, to me, you're unlimited, really only limited by your creativity. Now, I've had some flops and things that I just didn't care for, but as far as making them do what they're supposed to do, if you process them right and do everything at the right temperatures, man, it's going to happen. I've had very few failures, really. I've had some disappointments, but very few failures.
Yeah, well, that's the best part about trying something new. When you go in and try something new, and if you doesn't come out great, it's not a failure. You learned. You learned what worked and what didn't work. So, sometimes making those mistakes and failing and learning is way more important than succeeding, because it will help you a lot more down the road when it comes to something different. So, sometimes you have to fail to succeed. And a lot of new guys should really learn that. Like, you're not failing, man, you're learning, and it's part of the process. If you're not failing and learning, then you're probably done.
And another thing too, in my opinion, a lot of people, whether they're new or they've been doing it for years, they need to have the mindset that they can still learn. There's a lot of people.
Oh, sure.
Like, well, if this don't work, then that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. Like, no, that's not. Things change.
Man, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'll say that too.
Yeah.
I tell you what crawls me up is it's my way or the highway. It's this way or it's no way. And it's like it can't be like that. You can't have that mindset of it's your way and it's the only way. Like you said, man, there's 1,000 ways to skin that cat, and in the end, we're all going to eat. So we're all going to eat well too. So be open-minded.
And I'm finding, if you're sneaky, not really sneaky, if you're clever about how you go about it, I'm discovering that you can create a lot of clone drinks. Man, I've made bourbons that taste like bourbons, and brandies that taste like brandies, that started their life as a sugar wash, and using the jars and being able to infuse flavors. And I've pulled off things where I can make a sugar wash almost indistinguishable to somebody that doesn't really know. It's pretty easy to just create whatever you want, and depending on what you're looking for, different levels of, I love to do true fruit brandies if you can come on a good batch of fruit, but you can clone that just as easily.
Yeah.
and what you start with is always what you're going to end up with. It's like, well, I started out with this bill, but it tastes like this, and it's just the way it is sometimes.
Yeah. Well, see, and a lot of times too, you can use like apple brandy. Start with that. If you don't like the end product of your apple brandy, well, hey, that'd be something nice to use in apple pie or something. Or age it. Like Alan, his 2-year-old apple brandy.
Especially if it, apples have a tendency to kind of be bitter. I mean, if you get one, and a lot of that's in the ferment. A lot of different yeast. I like to use EC 1118 for fruits. I've used turbos a lot. A lot of people use regular daddy with, added nutrients. They essentially made their own turbo. And I've used bread yeast. That's.
Yep.
I've even used the natural yeast that's on the fruit. I mean, seems like it takes forever that way.
It does.
It isn't really an alcohol tolerant strain, but it's fun to do that way. So I have not done the one where they masticate the fruit in their mouth and, make a, spit wine kind of thing, and use, human yeast. I've never done that. It's on the list, but I've never. I don't want to drink spit wine either. But once you distill it, it'll be cool.
Spit in this cup. Spit in this cup. What are you doing?
Right. I mean,
I'm making liquor yeast.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, it happens. I mean, there are.
And it's something good to know, because you never know, man. You never know. You never know when that's going to come into play, and you're like, man, I'm stuck out here on this island, and I sure would like to get shit-faced drunk. I'm going to spit on this rotten fruit.
Man, I tell you, I'd love, if I had to do another show, I'd love to do the Alone show on the History Channel, where they drop 10 people off and it's last man standing.
Yeah.
If I ever get on that show, I've got one goal. That's to make a batch of liquor out of whatever I can find there. That, to me, that would be a challenge. You would forever be cemented in Alone history as the only liquor maker that's ever showed up to do it. But I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a fun build.
Yeah. Well,
oh yeah.
Like, Tom tapped in 6 days. He was drunk for 5 of them. Hey, that's Tom's my hero. I love that guy.
It'd take me 4 or 5 days to get my berry mash together.
I make it happen. I believe on an episode of Naked and Afraid.
Especially if they're going to let you, if they're going to let you sneak in some goodies.
Yeah, the one girl, she made liquor out of some rotten fruit and her spit, and they made some wine off of it, and they got buzzed up out there in the middle of nowhere. So it's possible, man. You get drunk anywhere.
Forget toilet wine.
You're damn right, man. If there's a will, there's a way.
Speaking of Big Easy, next time you come over, I got something I want you to try. It's that yellow split pea bourbon.
Man, you had me. I got something I want you to try.
I got a story to tell on that. Okay, the yellow split pea bourbon.
I remember now. You told me you tried the split pea while you was down there,
and it was completely different. It's sat on the shelf for a couple years, and one of the only things I've had that has survived that long, just because I wasn't really a fan. They're back to the story of it was a successful experiment, but kind of a disappointment. But 2 years later, Sean, was it or was it not? It was a palatable. I mean, I was amazed at what 2 years on the shelf has done for that.
Yeah, I tried it and I'm like, this is not as bad as what you were explaining it to be.
2 years ago, it was, bro.
So
2 years ago, it smelled like that sawdust that they put on puke on the school bus.
In case anybody's wondering, Sean got a plate tower with a D flag, and he wanted some tips on learning how to run it. So he goes up and he sees Tom, and that's when the 180 gin came about, and he got to try the split pea. And so, Tom, you made some split pea a couple years ago, and it tastes like a tire fire.
Well, no, it really took a couple days after it started fermenting, and come to find out, I'm guessing it was probably producing some butyric acid, which is kind of that pukey, and it smelled like that sawdust that they put on puke on the school bus, that pink sawdust crap. I know you know what that smells like. Everybody from back in the day should know what that's, yeah. And then
that like 25 years ago or something. I don't know, but
yeah.
Anyways.
But you can remember that smell.
Yeah.
So we ran it off on the still, and man, it smelled bad then too. Get done. I said, well, maybe we can age it. Maybe that'll help. So we put it on some cherry wood. So it's got a beautiful mahogany red color, and still smelled like woody sawdust that goes on puke on the school bus. So then I decided to make a activated charcoal filter. I welded a 3-foot, 2-inch stainless steel pipe to the bottom of a 2-gallon stainless steel bucket, and put a half a dozen coffee filters around the bottom, and filled it with activated charcoal that you clean. Activated charcoal is so dirty. I had to rinse it like 3 or 4 times to get it clean enough to use. Took about 5 hours to charcoal filter it, and you couldn't get the nose of the sawdust anymore. So kind of problem solved. A lot of extra work, really, and I don't really know, because split peas are kind of in the bean family. So they were like a 5-hour all day cook to get them to soften. And I'm guessing it was something in that deal that made the butyric acid happen in the ferment. Just one of them things, it's part of the, to me, that's where the magic happens, is at the fermenter, fellas.
Yeah.
It's if your ferment's happy, you're going to make great liquor.
That's where your liquor's made, in the ferment, in my opinion.
And finding a good ferment, and finding, what you actually need to ferment is, that's the challenge. That's where the challenge lies.
Yeah. Once you turn it into alcohol, it's simple after you ferment. You ferment done, and
once you learn how to run the still, that's a process. As long as you don't torch the ever-loving crap out of it and take it easy, creep into running, you'll be all right on that end. It's, to me, my liquor got better whenever I learned how to do the ferments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Start with
but I will say,
what a better product.
Yeah, biggest change that I saw in the process is when I went to a jar setup. Kind of took my liquor, I'd like to say it took it to a whole new place. Just being able to infuse flavors in on the run. And I don't know if it was being able to see the intensity of how it was running because you had the jars bubbling. If maybe it allowed me to help slow me down so I'm not scorching it and overdoing it. Probably a lot of that going on early. But I think the jars help, because when you can see it, what your activity level is. And, to me, it makes things simpler if you're got a visual aid. And I'm not one for temperature gauges and all that. To me, that's all a crutch. That's all a crutch that you don't really need.
Especially if you're learning, in my opinion, if you learn to do something, you should learn to do it the older way.
If you want to know how hot it is, put your hands on that baby.
It'll tell you.
Man, that's my first wheated bourbon there. That was the mash bill on this was a Bloody Butcher red Indian corn, white wheat, and a 2-row malted barley. And it's my first attempt at a wheated bourbon. And I probably changed the volumes of what my ratio was in the mash bill a little, but overall, I'm pretty happy.
I like a wheat. That's no. Everybody knows I like me a wheat. So
for bourbons, I kind of prefer the wheats too. But if I'm picking between corn and rye and all malted barley, I'll probably pick rye or all malted barley. Bourbon would probably be, last on my list.
Hell yeah.
So I got to where I'm kind of liking the scotches. A good 12-year-old Macallan or something nice.
yeah.
And that's kind of in the flavor profile of where Adam was at. In my opinion, that's where Adam was at on, he was the other contestant on our show. And my opinion, he had the best jar in the first round. But it wasn't Cherry Bounce. But if you're breaking it down to just the jars of liquor, man, that all malted barley scotch he did was a home run for me, fellas. It was so good. I sweet talked him. He gave me his final jar, and I made him autograph it and sent it home, and I treasured it, man. I really enjoyed it. That was the first thing I made when I got home, was a clone of what he did on the show, because in the whiskey flavor, man, it hit me right in the crease. It was too good.
Nice.
So, and I'd never done an all malted barley ferment, and so he kind of just, when I seen it and then got to taste what he was doing, and I'm like, man, when it comes to whiskey, that kind of hits me. That's what I like. So, I mean, I learned a lot from him. He was a good whiskey man.
So do you mess around with any Cherry Bounce anymore? Or is that something you kind of just a one and done situation?
Well, it's a different, I mean, my version of Cherry Bounce that I made before the show is aged like a whiskey. It looks like this in a jar. It doesn't have any fruit in it, and it ain't, that's what we did on the show, because the last stage was make something that you could put in this.
Okay.
What I see as Cherry Bounce being would be a same mash bill, honey and cherries and water, and no additional sugar if you can get away from it. And and then once you distill that, then let's put it on some wood and put about 8 or 10 years worth of aging color on it. And that's what I see as Cherry Bounce.
Yeah.
I have made that since I've been home. It's just, man, it gets pricey. I got people showing up here. It's kind of a jungle here. We've been lucky that the birds are allowing this to happen without stopping it from.
I've seen a cat in the background.
Everything.
I'm all about the animals. So, if they called you back,
2 cats and 2 birds here.
If they called you back to come compete again, would you?
I lost your audio.
If they called you to come back and compete again, would you? Now, ask it for me, Sean. He can't hear me.
Yeah, I missed that question.
If they called you back to go back and film again for something, would you do it?
Man, that's kind of a tough question. I probably would, just because.
That's why he couldn't hear me. He'll be back.
Hey,
he'll be back.
If you're watching, give us a thumbs up or follow us, this channel or something. While I'm thinking about it. God damn it.
That's a pretty good promo there, Sean. Jesus Christ.
Well, we're on break.
So,
piece of shit.
All right, he's back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Don't
Well,
leave.
right
man.
as I was getting ready to answer your question, I got kicked out again.
That happens.
But yes, I probably would do it. It was a great time. I enjoyed all the people that were there. Would I care how it comes out? Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, I really found out what I wanted to know. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I mean, it would be tough for me to get too much time off work. I mean, I'm grinding out 84, 90-hour weeks, and it's about work and trying to get cleaned up here so I can go to the farm. I got a beautiful farm in Clay County that I'm working towards, hiring and being there, in the long run. So,
Clay County, Kentucky, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. My uncle had a farm down there, and when he passed of cancer last year, then I'm going to get the opportunity to take over. Hopefully I can continue on with what his dream was for that farm.
Yep. How big is it?
67 acres. So
Well,
it's a pretty big piece of ground. And I spent this spring refurbing an old 8N tractor and able to get a little seat time down there, getting some bush hogging in. And my Aunt Red, she wanted to nickname the tractor Charlie, which was my uncle's name. She said that's exactly the kind of tractor that he always dreamed of having down there. He didn't want a $20,000 Kubota. He wanted a $2,500 old Ford.
Hey,
so
if it works, it works.
Man, I tell you, for a 70-year-old tractor, it's a 1952 8N Ford, and I updated a little. I switched to electronic ignition and went from 6-volt to 12-volt, and just kind of wanted to make it mechanically sound. So hopefully it'd give us some years, on the farm. And man, it runs like a new Kubota. I'll say that for it. They were. In 1952, it would have been a state-of-the-art piece of equipment, but right. It's still chugging, man. We ground out a whole day of bush hogging on it, and it never batted an eye. It just take everything you do and ask, and give you some more.
We've got one of them Case 470s at work.
Yep.
It's a little bit of an older one. I think it's from the 70s. I can't remember, but it's a good running tractor. There he is.
All right. Windows decided to update and kick me out. My bad.
Yeah, I would blame that too.
You know what?
Oh, I'll blame high speed DSL here.
Hey, you know what?
I'm one step away from dial up,
so bad that he had to step out a couple times, so I wanted to join him. So I did that for you.
I'm one step away from dial up here.
That's totally my dig. My bad, everybody. My bad. So
where's the Phil Billy Moonshine shirt at tonight?
They're all dirty, and it's the weekend, man. I got a day off tomorrow. I wasn't doing shit today. It was Labor Day weekend. We yesterday I had Mac and his lady come over to watch a Ohio State game, and then we went over and had a cookout with my mom. So I figured I'd wear my my yeast eat sugar and pisses alcohol and fart CO2 shirt.
There you go.
So my bad, I kind of threw a wrench in the middle of the show.
Yeah, you normally do.
It happens. So.
Oh hell! So
you have any aspirations of opening a distillery? Is that in the future, or are you just like doing it as a hobby?
I really don't think so. As far as opening my own distillery, it's wow, dealing with the man. is more than I want to take on.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, I could see how running a big distillery could take the fun out of it. You know, it's when it's a hobby and you really enjoy it, you know, and to turn it into work, it could be a double-edged sword and make it to where, you know, it take the fun out of it for you, and it's not as fun as it is doing it at home, make yourself a little liquor to drink on.
yeah,
I can see that.
And do you lose your personality? You know, I don't know. I don't know that I could do it. And like I said, I'm almost done working. You know, when I do it, I want to do it for fun. You know, I've spent too many years in a steel mill and a paper mill and all these factories, and been laying on my back underneath the paper machine at 3 o'clock in the morning with a welder in my hand for no reason at all.
Yeah.
You know? And when I'm done working, I just want to be done working. I want to make liquor because making liquor is fun, you know.
So,
and really it'd be, you know, still yet continue. How would you know, I don't know how I could settle in on a particular flavor, because it's, you know, small batching is something different every go round. You know, we may do something radically different, decide, hey, it's tequila time, or hey, it's whatever, you know. And
yeah, I could see how running a distillery would really tie your hands on your creativeness. Not saying you couldn't create, but you got so much time.
You'd be limited. I mean, because you gotta keep the staples going, and you know, just keeping the staples going could be complicated. You know, and hats off to the guys that are doing it.
Yes.
You know, shout out to Lawrence Pritchard and Flat Rock. I don't know. I mean, he's working more hours than me, and I'm grinding out 84, 86-hour weeks. And, you know, he's an animal. I don't know how he puts in the time he puts in and puts out the liquor that he puts out. He's doing a damn fine job. Doug Taylor, same way. I mean, these guys are grinding it out and spending, you know, time away from their families, and they're, you know, it wouldn't be easy. And so, you know, I bitch about the time I spend in a paper mill, but, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, I'm not carrying 50-pound bags of grain and, you know, dealing with what those guys are dealing with. You know, moonshining ain't easy, fellas. You all know that.
Yeah, if it was
easy,
everybody
doing it on a big scale. Yeah, doing it on a big scale with a limited number of people would be an incredibly daunting task.
Yeah.
Yep. And for anybody that don't know, he was talking about Lawrence Pritchard. He's from Ohio. He was also a master distiller. And Douglas Taylor is from Hamilton or Cincinnati.
No, Doug's from Cincinnati, down Batavia way. He just opened a distillery in Ripley.
Yep. And he was also on our season 2. He won Peach Brandy. Yeah,
Spirit of the South Peach Brandy episode.
Yep.
Wow, sounds like Ohio holding everything down.
Man, king of flavors, Doug Taylor is. Hey, Coco. Savannah cat invasion, fellas. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all right.
No worries.
Like I've always said, good liquor comes from Ohio.
Yeah,
man, people don't realize that though.
I don't think we get our dues like we deserve here in Ohio. But you know, hey, better to be under the radar and be known by who you need to be known by than be big and known by everybody, I guess. So.
They can talk bad about me all they want.
That's
right. It don't hurt my feelings a bit. I got big shoulders.
Thick skin, big shoulders. You can say anything you want. I enjoy me a good troll, so bring it.
Oh yeah. So what's your do you have any?
What's your favorite thing to run? That's what Sean was going to ask you. What's your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing to make?
Yeah.
I'd say in the last year it's turned into the gin. Just because I'm not really that experienced with the botanicals and all the spices, and it's been a lot of fun branching out. If you would have asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I'm going to put
hey, That gin, man, I will second that. Like, I don't like gin. I talked about it before that, Jim abused me a couple times. And
am I back again?
yes, sir, you back.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah, the weather's
welcome
bad
back.
here. I don't know if that's messing my cell phone signal up or not, but we've been getting some thunderstorms rolling through too.
Hell yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me
Jimmy.
now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah,
the sentence I was in the middle of to say, if you would have asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I would ever put chamomile flower and hibiscus flower into one of my ferments or into one of my liquors in a gin basket or however you want to get it in there, I would have looked you square in the eye and told you you'd absolutely lost your mind. I ain't putting none of that shit in my liquor.
well,
Must be storming pretty good on him. It's all good. We're coming up on 45, 46 minutes. We're getting back in here and wrap it up, This,
I don't believe chamomile is good for everybody. It's so good for alcohol. But yeah, I can't believe how good gin was. Like, I've always had it from the store and shit.
Yeah.
But I guess I couldn't believe how good it was coming over at 180.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how good it was at 182. So, I was really impressed because I don't like gin at all. Since
Shit's
I was
good in
15.
lemonade.
That's what you said. He was like,
Sweet
I'll make this
tea,
for
too.
lemonade. So,
Sweet tea too. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yes. One of the guys, buddy of mine, actually buddy of Doug Taylor's too, Dwayne, he said the lemonade was giving him heartburn and he said he wanted to try it with sweet tea. And after we got him mixed up, I said, you mind if I try that? And it was damn good.
Yep.
Keep that one in the pocket. Like, I'm definitely going to make me one of them. So,
Hell yeah. So was there any kind of recipe you haven't had a chance to try yet, but you've always wanted to?
Yeah, the like we were talking about the spit one.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to do an all fruit brandy with yeast from our mouths collectively, whoever's helping me mash in.
Saliva yeast, huh?
Saliva yeast, and make it, I'm guessing it's going to be a fruit brandy, kind of like probably maybe a mango or,
something real light that, maybe it'll.
Yep. Speaking of mango,
something that you're going to have to masticate and chew and then not swallow none of that. It all goes back into the pot.
one of our watchers here, Sean Mckinney, also from Ohio, he does a lot of mango brandy.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Man, I know what I'm going to be looking at reading up on tonight. I appreciate you, Tom. I'm going to be reading up on spit saliva yeast. And I'm not mad. I'm not mad about that at all. I've seen a little bit on it.
There's primitive cultures scattered across the planet that have still figured out a fermentation. Typically, you're going to end up somewhere between 8 and 10%. They don't get real high. More like almost like a bread yeast, but I've had bread yeast go 12, 14% before.
Yeah. Now, did you add nutrients?
Typically, yes, and with the bread yeast, yes, I would. And that could be a variety pack of things. Really, the main thing I think most ferments need that they don't get are like a crushed oyster shell kind of thing. Just something pH. That's going to buffer your pH and help keep it from crashing.
Yeah.
Because most of your moonshine ferments are a lot higher alcohol content than, say, a typical beer that's going to ferment to 5 or 7 or 8 or 11, or most people that are fermenting in a moonshine variety is 14% anyway. But to me, that's the ceiling. I tend to think that it gets really, really harsh once you cross that threshold and, 13, 14%, you go much beyond that, it's hard to keep it from being lighter fluid. I mean, it's just a really, because the ferment ain't happy. I mean, even though you're using a high tolerant strain of yeast, doesn't mean that it's happy. It may survive it, but don't mean it's happy.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, you good, Sean.
Oh, I was gonna say, so what's the smallest still you've ever ran?
5 gallon.
What's the biggest still you've ever ran?
110.
Nice.
That's a good size.
Yeah. Biggest one I ever ran on electric was 55.
Okay.
I did my own custom build of a stainless steel polished. Man, it was a food grade stainless steel barrel.
I feel like
it looked like somebody. Yeah, it was polished up pretty, and ugliest thing on it was my welds.
So
it didn't leak though. It was ugly, but it didn't leak.
Hey man, it don't matter how it looks as long as it's effective.
That's right. So are you a gas man or are you electric man?
Well, that is still up in the air. I was a gas man, but I am revisiting my opinion on electric. I had trouble when I was doing it keeping my mash from tasting burnt when I used electric with the elements in the mash. I've tasted liquors that I don't taste that in from people that use electric. They're doing it a little different than I was at the time. But I came up with an idea that I've got a pot here that's got an immersion oil heater in it. When Kevin from Thunder Roads made my last pot, I had him put a 3-inch copper pipe all the way through it with flanges on both ends where I could put my heating elements inside the 3-inch pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Then fill that with oil so, it doesn't boil. And then the inside would have a solid 3-inch copper pipe that would be an oil heater, a lot like one of the radiant heaters that you'd use in your house, one of the little oil heaters, or this one's just kind of on steroids with 2 5,500 watt heating elements in it.
Nice.
So we're in the conducting experiment stages at this point.
More power.
I do have, and getting time to actually get it all functional and ready to go has been kind of a chore, but they've been beating our guts out at work this year, so shit happens.
Yep, the one Kevin's doing for me has that heat tube in it.
Yeah, really, you had him put one in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's going to be an amazing idea.
Love it.
And the idea is to soften the interface so your elements don't directly touch your mash. The only thing in your mash is going to be a hot ass copper pipe, which would be no different than hot ass copper underneath with propane.
Yeah.
So
except if you get any solid settling on the bottom, you don't have to worry about scorching on the bottom of your pot. So.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Hell yeah.
So you was talking earlier about the old ways, and I really enjoy going on YouTube and watching these third world countries and how they are making alcohol with nothing. Like one of my favorite videos to watch is the Ugandan Argi that make over in Uganda. It's essentially banana brandy, but just to watch how they did it and how they do it, and it's like
amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I bet it does taste amazing too.
I started it and I really enjoyed the show Booze Traveler on the Travel Channel.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I watch him.
He's great. He travels all over. My people were Hungarian and he traveled to Hungary. So that was one of my favorite episodes was his traveling traveling to Budapest and get this cat. And he hooked up with a group of gypsies. And I don't know that I would do it, but they had denatured alcohol, which is camping fuel, you know. And they poured it out into a bowl and set it on fire and timed it for like 30 or 40 seconds and then threw a towel over top of it and put the fire out and said, "Okay, fellas, it's good to go." And they started drinking it.
Hey, man, we're going to get drunk. It don't matter.
They were burning the denaturing chemicals were the first most volatile chemicals in it, and apparently burns off first. And once they burn that off, then they're down to regular ethanol, and they said it's time to get it on.
I might have to watch that episode.
I mean, I've never seen that happen, so I enjoy watching, and then I don't know that I'm going to pour out some camping fuel and set it on fire and then go after it, but
I guess I'm making.
You get the idea. I mean,
I'm making a video. I'm getting drunk off camping fuel.
It's an experiment.
I got somebody who'll drink it.
You'll probably get banned for some kind of wackadoodle. You'll offend somebody.
Yeah, YouTube don't give a shit, man. They'll let you put anything on there. So I already got me 2 guinea pigs in mind, and one of them ain't me.
Man, what I enjoy about the gin more than anything isn't even the liquor; it's the nose, fellas.
Yeah.
It's like you got to take a whiff of it. It's the nose that I enjoy as much or more than I do the flavor. It's the nose.
You know, something with a great nose, every time you put your face in your cup or the jar to take a drink, that's what pleases your palate to begin with, is your nose, you know. So if your nose is pleased,
your
nose
knows.
It
Yes,
just guides you on the path, and you know your palate's headed that way next. And,
dude, I'll pick up fried chicken 5 miles away and follow it. You know it's going to lead you to where it's at. It knows where the good stuff is. So every time.
Yeah,
that's right. But yeah, that gin, you can smell that when you mix it in with lemonade or whatever, man. It's phenomenal.
That's why I don't cut it before and leave it as, if you try to temper it back with water, and we're going to try to do it, it loches like an absinthe. There's just too many oils from the botanicals that are in it, and it goes cloudy almost instantly. It loches, almost like an absinthe. I don't know if that's good or bad. From a production level, there's no way to really temper it unless you're, so I don't know how you market it, because I don't think they're going to let you sell anything at like 186 proof. I mean, the tax you'd have to pay on that would be ungodly. But really, that's the best way is, I like it at the high proof and then just dose accordingly.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just have to know what you've got a hold of when you go pouring it. You don't want to pour a double shot of that into a glass and think you're going to walk away from that.
Yeah, go through about that much as to where you're going through about that much.
Little goes a long way. Wow.
That's right.
Well, before we get off here, Sean, why don't you tell us about that old Mason Jar Mafia hat you got on?
About that. So this is one. So Rick started that a long time ago, as kind of a joke, because he was building them jar stills, and it just kind of took. I don't know. It just took off, because the way he was making, Mason Jar Mafia, it was, hey, I got a Mason jar right here. I ran liquor. This is what it is. It's not what it has become today. There's a few guys that's kind of. Well, anyway, Rick had a falling out with Chris, and the other people, and Chris and Dusty Moonshine really took off with it, and this was a hat that was sent back to Rick. With what was left over with all the merchandise and shit. And he was like, fuck that. I don't want that piece of shit. I said, hell, give it to me. I'll wear it.
That's a $10,000 hat you got on there. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
kind of like a kick into the face to the right fucking people. You know what I mean? So, but anyway,
and
yeah.
you know, it's sideways way to mess with. We give old Rick, give his dad some shit. So it's always a good time to give Rick a little.
And I seen some videos on TikTok today about someone talking bad about Mason Jar Mafia. Well, that's since Dipshit took it over and he's really ran it into the ground. It was something that it's not.
You know, we talk about there's a real Mason Jar Mafia, and then you got these guys that are claiming to be it, and they're just assholes running the name in the dirt, man. And so
the clown show.
Yep. When it comes down to it, man, know exactly who you're dealing with when the time comes, and do your homework, and you got an issue. Make sure your issue is with who it should be. And
Show.
Do what?
I said Krusty Dusty and the Clown Show.
Yep, that's exactly right, man. So
I still say there's nobody that likes Dusty. There has to be nobody.
Yeah, I haven't, but even still, we're not going to give him any time on our show. He can eat a dick. But anyways, Tom, I mean, we're grateful for you to come on and give us an hour of your Sunday evening, and bestow some of your knowledge with us, and
I don't know that I did any of that.
You did more than you think you did. It usually happens. So, we appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. Next week it's just going to be me and Sean. It's going to be more of a we're going to interact with the comment section a lot next week. So you guys tune in next week at 10:00. And we're gonna give back to everybody that gives time to come in and watch us and comment, and so we'll read your comment and talk to you. So if you got something you want to ask us next week, hop in here and we'll have a good time, man. So Tom,
I'll have to tune into that just so I can ask Sean why he thinks he can get away with wearing dude shoes, and that's okay.
If you want the answer you want to hear, you be sure to ask.
You be sure to ask. They give you the answer. So. But anyways,
fellas, I appreciate you having me on. This has been my first podcast. It's kind of fun.
Awesome.
But I enjoy sitting around talking liquor. So, I mean, to sit around and talk whiskey, I could do that every day, and
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we started this, was just so we can meet up with people we don't normally get to sit down with, and we can hear their take and what they love about it and why they do it. And, and we can I'm always picking up stuff. Like, I'm getting off here and I'm going to go sit on my phone and learn about spit yeast.
Well, I mean, it'd be easier if you went the traditional Hungarian way and just mash your fruit up with your feet.
Yeah,
I got big feet, man. I will stomp them.
I've had my girlfriend in the barrel doing it the traditional way, man.
Well, I'm sure Rita's cussing you out.
Oh man, she was cussing me out pretty good that day, but she's a trooper. She's always right there with me, man, just watching me, helping me do my thing. So, and she enjoys the science lesson. She's like, really, that kind of stuff, So it's fun. It's just something, we enjoy doing.
Don't get her to do blackberries. She'll have purple feet and never do it again for you.
That's probably what you done. That's now.
No, it was peaches.
Oh, yeah, you can't ruin them on the first time, or you can't get a second workout of them. So you gotta play smart. But anyways, I hope everybody has a good night. Tom, have a good night. Sean, I really don't give a shit what kind of night you have. I still love you though, man. Everybody have a great night, man. Shine on.
Yep.